This is penstemon. So this is a plant that will survive off of rainwater here, and very beautiful plant. It's a hummingbird plant. This is great for making seed balls. They're very beautiful, like a bright pink flower. They come in different colors. This one is like a bright pink. The hummingbirds love it. It only grows about 2 feet tall here. It's usually one of the first plants to start growing after the winter is over. So this is a plant I look for to see where the season is at. It marks the transition in the season. This is a couple plants, and I filled up a grocery bag, and it's from our site. So this is great. We're gonna be able to really spread these seeds around and collect more and keep spreading them and fill up the yard with the seeds that we want, the plants that we want. So I definitely recommend putting in the time to save seed so that you're building beneficial relationships with the plants that you want to hang around your site. So in many ways we're being like a bird, because this is what birds do. They eat seeds and then they drop seed balls everywhere, dropping fertilized seed packages everywhere. And depending on how much mulch we get out of this, I might just put it in a planter, or I might put it in a gray water basin or earthwork. We'll see. Whatever's easier, whatever's closer. So you might want to use gloves for this part because these things are kind of sharp. But yeah, see, like I'm bleeding. Yeah. I got rough hands, so I don't feel it, but I really like using this plant because it takes very little water, it produces amazing blooms, and it attracts hummingbirds. And I don't know about y'all, but I love having hummingbirds around, and you can create basically a situation where there's a lot of food for hummingbirds by establishing a relationship with hummingbird plants. I also like butterflies, so I tend to save a lot of seeds for native plants that will sustain butterflies or hummingbird populations that are passing through. And I want them to put our site on their map, on their little internal radar, so that they know there's food for them here. So this is one of those plants. The penstemon is how we get hummingbirds here. It's one of the ways. It's one of the plants that helps us achieve that goal of having hummingbirds visiting us all the time. And we don't put out feeders or anything like that. We're just trying to feed them with flowers. They're tiny seeds, tiny little black seeds in here. I think in the future, I'm going to just strip the flower heads off, these clusters off when it's fresh, so I can avoid this whole process that's happening now, because it's highly inefficient use of time. It's taking a long time to get all this stuff cleaned up so I can harvest the seeds. But it's such an important pollinator plant, at least for me, because I like I said, I like having hummingbirds. I think it enhances life experiences. It's also amazing to see the pollinators that will come through if you have a lot of flowers, because this will attract beneficial insects as well. Anytime you have a plant putting out nectar for hummingbirds and butterflies, you're gonna get other beneficials that are gonna be attracted to it as well. So beneficials are bugs that eat bugs, but they're beneficial bugs, so they're not bugs we don't want around. They're going to be eating the bugs we don't want around. And I call plants like this pollinator sustainer, because it's one of the functions that it provides our site. It provides the pollinators with sustenance. That's an important thing that a lot of people overlook, unless they're raising bees, because then you're forced to deal with it. You're forced to deal with the lack of pollen on your site if you're trying to rake in the honey. So this would be really good to do a couple years before, like collecting seeds of native pollinator plants and spraying them around before you even put beehives up, and save yourself all that work of having to feed your bees. So you know, if you're thinking about it and you're doing it in stages, like you want to do all of the native stuff right off the bat, because that's going to bring in good bugs, have your nitrogen fixing stuff going on, and then stuff like this, the pollinator sustainers. That way, like, you know, you're 5 years in, you have your native stuff established, and then when you get bees, they're gonna go nuts. They're gonna have access to all of this pollen from, you know, mesquite trees, from penstemons, from anything that is native in flowers and that you like and you want in your yard. And that's what it's really as, landscaping with native plants. Forget the grass, forget the rock mulch. You know, a lizard can't even live in these like xeriscaped rock mulched yards. It's too hot. And this is a plant that has proven to do well in the harshest spot on our site. So it gets hot, wind, it's totally unprotected from anything, but it does receive water because of the earthworks. But that's just a matter of planting the rain. So what that means is this plant does take water, but if you are planting the water, if i.e. you're installing rainwater harvesting earthworks, plants like this will thrive in those earthworks. So yeah, you can't just throw it out and expect it to take up. I mean, it is a native plant and you might throw it out in the perfect spot for it, so it may still work out. But there's a difference between doing that and hoping that it works out versus knowing it's gonna work out and having that intention behind it. So most of the seeds fell in the bag in the process of drying, which is cool. It makes things a little bit easier. But it also means we have all this chaff at the end. As these plants were drying, they were dropping leaves and flowers. So moving forward, I think I'm gonna just take the flowers off where the seeds are at and dry those on screen with the paper bottom, because these seeds are tiny. You see that they're tiny, so it'd be a lot faster that way than having to go through all this biomass right here. See, at this point I just have to throw all those seeds right in there like that. It's only so clean. You only get it so clean. And they're kind of sharp too, the stick. I have really rough hands, so I can't really feel it, but they do stick. That's how it's done, y'all. Okay, I think I'm gonna put this in a jar. So for storing seeds, you want to make sure that, and this is for any seed, you want to make sure that's completely dry. You want to be able to put it in the freezer and not have it like get wet, you know. If you have a little bit of moisture on there, it's going to ruin the seed. So, but I don't put mine in the freezer, but that's kind of the dryness you want before you store them in an airtight lid or in a Ziploc bag. You don't want these guys basically becoming mold and fuzzy in the bag or in the jar because it has a little bit of moisture still. This is pretty good. There's some chunks in here, but for the most part that's going to be it. Okay, so I'm going to get a little jar. It's going to be a ton of boom. You could put the year, but these are not going to make it more than a year. So pretty much going to spread them out and then do the whole process again. And then this is mulch. I'm gonna throw this in with the mulch.